final one tonight, and then seeing you hopefully in Plymouth and boarding the ship if you're on voyage leg 1, or if you're on a later leg on a later part of the journey. I'm going to be giving a brief presentation about the research projects that's going to be taking place on the ship a little bit later. So I'll hand back to you for now, Elvira.
Okie doke. Well, maybe Anna. I'm going to try to unmute you. Sorry.
I think I can do it.
Oh,
yeah.
Perfect.
Well,
Super.
I'm Anne. I'll be the new voice in the office, taking over Elvira's desk in the end. A brief introduction about myself. I'm only 23 years old, so I don't have 12 years of experience just yet. I'm going to be doing this next to my studies, and I'm really excited to meet everybody, learn everything that's going on in and around the boat. And yeah, I hope to speak to all of you in the end. So if there's any further questions, then I'll hear them.
Thank you, Anna. It might be good because although it's only 14 days away that the ship will have the goodbye in Plymouth, it will be a bit earlier for us in Rotterdam. And I think Gerben has been working around the clock.
Okay.
But it would be nice. Maybe he made time to meet to be in the meeting as well. But it might be nice for him to tell us how everything is going, how the last preparations are, because our departure will be this Friday from Rotterdam.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what I thought when I hear Stewart say it's less than 14 days. I think, hey, it's in 3 days, man. So we've been working very hard to make the ship ready, which is still not done yet, but we are getting there. I don't see any major problems anymore, but that was different yesterday morning, so it could be different tomorrow morning. No, we spent a lot of work. I mean, we were sailing all the time. Many of you have joined other Q&A sessions, and all this time the ship was, I mean, next to the preparations for the Global Voyage, we were just sailing with guests, with passengers, with trainees everywhere, and all these things they went on and on and on until we had the ship in Rotterdam the last 4 weeks, and that was the 4 weeks where everything had to come together, and that means we have built a corner in the ship for the scientists. There's some microscopes, there's some room for laptops and stuff, and whatever. We specifically made that for a working space. We of course had to do. I mean, if a ship like this wants to sail around the world for 2 years, there is so much you want to be doing, because I mean, my crew was complaining the other day, a few days ago. They were complaining, and we have been working so hard. I said, yes, but there is no other way, because you will never forgive yourself your last day of preparations, and you said, okay, we quit early today because we have been working so hard. And then a few months later, you find the problem and said, hey, we could have solved that, or we could have make sure it didn't happen, but well, remember, we took that few hours off. So it's always like that. You'll be working like crazy until the very last moment, and then you hope you have done everything. Of course, you can't. That's what it is. We spent the last 4 weeks with 18 persons working 10 hours a day at least, every day, 7 days a week, just for preparations. You can't. I mean, it's a small ship, so you can imagine what happens if you have so many people working on the same few square meters and trying to do everything. Well, it all came together. I think the ship is really good technically. We've done everything we could. We prepared well. We've selected crew, we've selected other crew. Things, of course, happen, and in the coming 2 days we will have all the equipment and groceries actually on board. And you can imagine, if you sail around the world for 2 years, Well, compare it if you go hiking or camping, and you have a backpack. What will you take if you go for a weekend? And then you think, what will I take if I go for a week? And then you think, what will I take if I go for a month? And then you think, what will I take if I go for a year? And then what will I take if I go for 2 years? And you still have the same backpack. It's quite a difficult question. So you have to make choices, and we will see in a few months, in a few weeks, perhaps, maybe in a few days, if we made the right choices. But we're there. We have worked. It's almost done. We will be continue to work for the next 3 days, and then on the 4th of Friday, the 4th of August, we will leave Rotterdam, and that will be the last time we will see Rotterdam for 2 years. So we're ready for it, and I hope you are.
Thank you, Gerben. I see a lot of thumbs up, so that's a good sign. But I completely forgot. I'm sorry, Sophie. You're also new to the team, but new to the Darwin200 team. So, hi, could you maybe introduce yourself a little bit? I'm curious as well.
So I'm Sophie. I'm based down in Poole. I'm actually Stuart's little sister, and I'm going to be working on the social media and marketing side of things over the next 2 years. So yeah.
Nice, thank you, and welcome to the group. And well, enjoy yourself the next 2 years. I think you will have lots of stories to tell on social media. Stewart, can I ask you? Shall I? Oh, for us. Oh, you have to unmute. Let's see if I can do that. I think we can hear you now. Or not.
Sorry, I think you might just need to let me share my screen. You couldn't possibly click at the bottom. Sorry, thanks so much. Okay.
I'll share it.
Lovely. If you could kindly let me know when you can see this. Zoom sometimes plays tricks on me when I do this. So if you let me know when it comes through.
We can see it.
Beautiful. Okay. All righty. Well, over the course of the last year and a half, we've, I think, explained every single part of the project and the voyage except the research projects. So that's the focus of tonight's talk. As you may recall, if any of you haven't attended a previous talk or don't know that much about Darwin200, we're doing 3 things. Firstly, we're creating 200 amazing drivers of change called Darwin Leaders. Second of all, we're making the world's most exciting classroom with 100 events every single week. And then last but not least, we've got the research projects, which we're going to talk about tonight. The idea is to show real problems to the environment, but just as importantly, the solutions to those problems and what we all can do to help make the world a better place, with the intent of beaming this out and broadcasting this out to audiences across the globe. Just before we get into the research projects, I'll just really quickly update you. We've got a team of carpenters in the warehouse in Poole here. We're building a Darwin laboratory. This actually is a photograph of one I made previously for a TV series, but this is exactly what it's going to look like. We're currently building 3 sides of a wooden frame, like a room, and then filling it with all sorts of explorer and Darwin-related paraphernalia. And that's going to be where part of the world's most exciting classroom we're beaming out. When we meet next week in Plymouth, this will be absolutely finished. We'll have done our first broadcast from there, and I'll be able to show you photos when we meet. Okay, on to the research projects. So we're about to launch a really cool new website. Our current website is really just a placeholder for the new one that we're launching to host the massive wealth of info that's going to be coming out of the voyage. One of the central things is this live interactive map, which actually records the voyage in real time as the ship goes around the world. And it's also a place where all of the data of all of the research projects is stored. And you'll be able to, at a click of a button, filter out the following 8 research projects that we're going to be talking through. The maps are really, really cool because, okay, obviously this is a different expedition across Antarctica, but I put this slide in to show you. It tracks every single part of the trip, and you can click on each part of it and see photos and the data feeds that we're going to be uploading by Iridium from the ship as the ship goes around the world. Well, we've basically got 8 main research areas. During the voyage legs, so when the ship is sailing, we've got 4, which concerns the Topside Unit, which gathers data and feeds it to the map, which I'll talk about in a second. We're doing a Seabird pinniped, so that's seal and basically seal and sea lion, and then cetacean, which is whale and dolphin and porpoise survey. And then we've also got a microplastics sampling project and a ballooning spider project as well. So these take place when the ship is sailing, and anyone on the voyage legs, you can all take part in this. You can all be part of the data gathering, especially in the different watches. It'd be very, very useful. The more people get involved and want to get involved, the better. Of course, it's totally voluntary. You don't have to. It's only if you want to. But if you would like to be involved in these projects, you can. Then separately in the ports, we've got another 4, which is a tree planting / biodiversity transect project, a coral reef health transects across different parts of the world, pollution solutions, and the Miller-Urey Experiment. I'll briefly go through each one just so you can see what they're all about and what they're doing. Well, this has actually come together just in the last week through wonderful Joe Grabowski, who I can see in the audience tonight. We owe Joe a huge, huge thanks. And to Stuart Higgs. They've very kindly, at the National Marine Aquarium down in Plymouth, they've very kindly helped enable this through a partner in the US. It's called a Topside Unit. It's a little box that we install on the ship, and it's totally self-sufficient. It's solar powered, and it takes a photo at least once a week. We might do it more regularly, but it's about once a week, and it uploads it by Iridium satellite to that map. So every single week, you can see what the ship can see as the ship goes around the world. We'll probably do it more regularly than a week, but it costs about $10 to upload each photo. So yeah, we'll do that. There is actually a selfie button as well, but we might have to keep that secret because otherwise everyone will be doing selfies with it. But anyway, so once a week, a photo will be taken and shown live and then displayed totally automatically and geotagged to that map. So if anyone in the audience wants to follow the ship and see what the latest, where it is and what the conditions are like, you'll be able to see those photos literally in minutes from when they're taken. It's pretty cool. It also has an air temperature sensor that feeds the data from the temperature also onto that map, and a probe that we can dip into the water for sea temperature measurements, and that also will be recorded. Let's say it's really cool. It all goes up by Iridium satellite straight up to our system, so it's pretty cool. Okay, then as the ship is sailing, we've got 2 full-time researchers on the ships in different combinations on different legs. The main research project that we're going to be undertaking is an ocean-wide seabird survey, monitoring the different species, the behavior and numbers. And this actually is very important, especially when we get further south to the Southern Ocean. I'm sure many of you are well aware, particularly albatrosses and other large seabirds are in really bad, several species of them are in really bad shape. So this is actually a very significant project that we're going to be doing, and we'll be able to track it and compare it against historic data. So it'll be very interesting. Say it's primarily seabirds, but it'll also be pinnipeds, which are seals and sea lions, and particularly when we get down to Patagonia, the Falkland Islands, and Tierra del Fuego, and the Straits of Magellan and so forth, that area. We will definitely record a lot of pinnipeds down there, and all throughout the voyage, whales, dolphins, and porpoises. And you might say, oh, just whales, everyone's seen a whale. But actually, this is not true. Into the middle of the oceans, the deep water beaked whales, there's about 80 species of deep water beaked whales, and we still know remarkably little about many species. So we really hope to see some of those deep diving beaked whales as well as the more common species. So it'll be very, very interesting. For all of those different animal groups, we'll have log sheets and basically log and ID the species, the locations, the number, the behavior, and so forth. And okay, we have got 2 researchers obviously doing this, but it's impossible for them to do it 24/7. So obviously the watch system on the ship is perfect for this, because different groups take part in the watches at different times of each day. So hopefully each watch, if they get excited and interested, we really would love them to take part in this. And we've got ID books and so forth that they can use, and a beautiful camera that we've specially bought, so they can take photographs and feed this data into these surveys. This is still a slight work in progress. We did this in the UK voyage, but very, very simple trawls. It's literally just a small net. Very, very simple trawls looking at microplastics and plastic particles. Then we can rank the concentrations on the map and see where there's large concentrations and small concentrations. So this is relatively simple. All of these projects, the truth is it's intended to engage global audiences. This isn't academic research, except the animal surveys absolutely can be. But most importantly, this is about engaging the public and getting them to understand problems. And obviously marine plastic is a very, very, very important one. So everyone hears about these rafts of plastic in the Atlantic and the Pacific, but let's go find out, are they actually there? And what are they like? How dense is the plastic? Where is it congregated? Is it the same as it was 3 years ago with other voyages? Well, we're going to find out, and you can definitely be a part of this and help. The last project that we're going to be doing on the voyage, which Gerben very kindly and very sportingly has allowed us to, because I know this is a bit of a weird project. I was just in Montevideo about 3 weeks ago setting up the projects. In fact, I called the last session, the last Q&A session was from Montevideo, wasn't it? A month ago. Anyway, we met some incredible partners in Montevideo, and one of the teams at one of the universities, this was their idea, and it's a brilliant idea. So on the Beagle, Charles Darwin found spiderlings, that they're so-called ballooning spiderlings. Many thousands of species of spiders. The spiderlings release threads of silk from their abdomens and actually float into the air. And they can fly hundreds, in some cases, literally thousands of kilometers. And Darwin surveyed for these and found some as he went across the Atlantic. As far as I know, no one or very few people have done this. So it's going to be really, really interesting. And I know a lot of people might not like spiders, but hopefully some people might give a hand with this one. Anyway, as I say, I felt a bit sorry for Gerben when we put this idea across to him, because let's be honest, it is a bit of a weird research project, but we've got a plan with sticky traps to see if we can find and catch spiderlings in the middle of the Atlantic and compare it directly to what Darwin found, which should be really, really interesting. And again, as far as I know, no one's done this, certainly not on the scale that we are. So it should be a really interesting project. Okay, now we move to the projects on land. So those are the 4 projects on the ship as it's sailing. The next projects concern the groups on land, in the ports between the sailing legs. So I think this is one of the most exciting. We're trialing this in Brazil, in the Atlantic rainforest of Brazil. I don't mean to be patronizing, but for those that don't know, the Atlantic rainforest is completely separate from the Amazon rainforest. It's incredibly biodiverse, but 70 to 80% has been destroyed. Darwin didn't ever go to the Amazon. He went to the Atlantic rainforest, but was blown away by the biodiversity. He's literally speechless by it, especially by beetles there. Anyway, sadly, about 70 to 80, by some counts, even 90% has been destroyed. The reason for this is because it occupies the fertile relative lowlands down on the coastal seaboard of Brazil. So obviously it's absolutely perfect land for development, and it's around the big cities like Sao Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, and others. So most of it's been destroyed. Anyway, our project concerns rebuilding some of this Atlantic rainforest. And again, if this goes well, we want to try and repeat it in Peru or Ecuador, hopefully Tahiti, New South Wales, the Falkland Islands, although a bit different there with tussock grass instead of trees, and then definitely St. Helena. They have this incredible project called the Millennium Forest that I've been involved with for about a decade, which I'd love to do. To explain what this involves, so focusing now just on Brazil and the Atlantic rainforest, we have two Darwin leader projects with this incredible group called the Association of the Golden Line Tamarins. In one of the previous Q&A sessions where we presented an overview of the projects that we're doing in Brazil, we spoke about this very, very briefly. This is a very special primate from Brazil.
Can you hear?
Yeah.
It was virtually wiped out. It went down to about a few hundred individuals, and this team has been
Golden
slowly.
Line Tamarin.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. Oh, I think we might need to mute someone. Sorry. Anyway, so what we're doing in a week, we've raised $10,000, and we're hopefully going to raise more money, but we've already got $10,000 ready for this. We're going to be planting several thousand trees all within a week. So the partners are going to get them ready. And then with a team of volunteers that we're mobilizing currently at this Association of the Golden Line Tamarind, it's about an hour and a half outside of Rio. We're going to be planting all of those trees in a designated area within their reserves. The important point that they're doing, and they've already been planting trees for well over a decade, they're trying to connect the fragments of Atlantic rainforest. And this is critical, absolutely critical for the survival, not just of the golden line tamarins, but many, many, many other mammals like armadillos, sloths, and other animals that need larger ranges. So they've already been doing this for many, many, many years, and we're just going to help contribute to that ongoing process. So we'll be planting the trees with a team of volunteers all within a week. We don't know how many trees the $10,000 will buy. It should be 2,000 or 3,000 trees. We'll be doing nightly updates live from the field of how many we've planted each day. And simultaneously, we're going to be running a Kickstarter and GoFundMe campaign to try and get the public mobilized and hopefully raise a load more money for the Association of Golden Line Tamarind to plant even more trees. Anyway, when it's finally completed on November the 10th, so we land in Rio on November the 4th, we want to start the trees planting on the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and hopefully finish by the 10th. We're going to fly a drone over to actually see what we've actually done and show the real progress of planting these trees. This will all be ready for two events that we've got planned in Brazil, which is Darwin Day, which Sarah Darwin is very kindly coming to take part in, which we're going to be beaming live from the Atlantic rainforest. We'd love you all to come and be part of that online and join it. And then last but not least, as you might remember from a previous Q&A session, we set up a really big event in the Museum of Tomorrow in Rio. The Museum of Tomorrow is this incredible futuristic building, a bit like the Sydney Opera House, but the equivalent in Rio. And we've got a really high profile event there on November the 12th. So we want to present our trees and our tree planting there. In terms of research, though, while this is going on, while the trees are going to be planting, we want to contribute some active data to why this matters and why this is important. Obviously, everyone's heard of planting trees and carbon and all that, but what does it actually mean? And why is it significant? And why do we need to reforest these unique ecosystems? Well, we're going to find out. What we're going to do is biodiversity transects, roughly 100 meters each, in 4 different forest types. Primary rainforest, so primary Atlantic rainforest, of which there's very, very little remaining. Secondary rainforest, so that's rainforest that has been cut, often a decade or more ago, or more. And then the third one is heavily deforested, or even possibly agricultural areas where the forest has been severely smashed or even totally removed. And then last but not least, replanted forest 20 years on. So after we put the seedlings in the ground, 20 years on, what actually has come back? What is the biodiversity? And so we're going to be monitoring and recording the relative numbers of mammal species, birds species, reptiles, amphibians, plants, and invertebrates and fungi. Look, it's not going to be perfect. It's limited. This isn't academic research. We'll do the best we can. It's not a perfect methodology, but it's enough to give us rough counts. And we should see, hopefully, a very clear trend that, okay, primary obviously will be highest, then secondary, then the destroyed forest at the bottom. But on the other side, it should be coming back swiftly in the regenerating forest that's been replanted 20 years ago. So we'll see. And this will then provide real data to show why this matters and why this is significant. The 6th research project that we're going to be doing in several of the ports is a coral reef health survey. Similar transect, but underwater. We've already set this up in Fernando de Noronha. If it goes well, we'd like to repeat it in Galapagos, in Tahiti, and in a few other locations, probably Azores on the way back, and possibly Ascension or St. Helena as well. The truth is, we're just going to trial it for the first time in Fernando de Noronha and see how it goes. And basically, it's a very simple underwater photographic survey. We later analyze the photos to look at the relative levels of coral bleaching. So that's the death of the coral by the temperature, water temperature, the numbers of invasive species of coral and other animals. And in some parts, this is a really big problem. Coral diseases that are spreading very, very rapidly in some areas, often through bilge water and ships and many other factors, and equally physical damage. So that's like anchors smashing up the coral and so forth. And there are other factors as well. But it should give us quite an interesting survey because different problems affect coral in different parts of the world. And there's lots of reasons for that. But yeah, it should be a really interesting project. And there's a very nice connection here actually to Darwin. Many people don't know, but it was actually Charles Darwin himself that developed the theory of how atolls form. So these amazing circles of coral, like, for example, in the Maldives or the Chagos Archipelago and countless other examples through the tropics. Darwin actually was the one that worked out how they formed. They formed from an underwater volcano that gets a ring of coral that grows up and up and up, basically, and as the volcano subsides. So it's a pretty cool connection to Darwin. The last two projects we're still developing a little bit. Down in Salvador, in Brazil, we're working currently with the University Federal down there. We had meetings with them a couple of months ago. We want to do a pollution solutions project, basically in the big bay there, Bahia dos Santos. There was a big Venezuelan oil spill from a Venezuelan tanker, unfortunately. And this university has been doing some incredible work looking at the recovery and how you can help the recovery of mangrove forests and other wildlife in the face of petrochemical spills. And there's some pretty innovative technology. For example, this little photo here on the right, they're called robots, as in ROW bots, because they literally row. And they're fueled by the oil spill. So you can drop them by helicopter into the oil spill, and they actually eat the petrochemicals. They eat the oil. They haven't been tested that much, so we're hoping to try and get our hands on one or two of the prototypes and actually test it out in the real conditions. So it'd be a really interesting project. That one is still a bit in development though. So we're hoping to pull that together in the next few weeks before we get to Salvador. The last one, which is a really exciting one, which has evolved a little bit, is the Miller-Urey Experiment. For anyone that doesn't know, this is an incredible story. And it doesn't matter whether you like science or not. It's just an awesome story. There was a PhD student that wanted to replicate the origins of life. And basically everyone told him he was an idiot, that it wouldn't work. His PhD supervisor told him that he's wasting his time, but he did it anyway and created this novel apparatus that just has basically water, methane, some very base elements in it, carbon and so forth in it with an electrode spark. And nothing happened for a long time. Then suddenly the whole thing went black with this liquid. And he created amino acids, which are the building blocks of life. It's often exaggerated whenever this is done, this experiment's done, that it's, Frankenstein creating life, but that's definitely not the truth. It's just creating the chemistry that enables life. My original idea was that we would install a cabinet and take it around the world, but I've been advised that's a pointless idea because all will happen within about 2 weeks, it'll get this black liquid, then nothing will happen for 2 years. So we've had to change this idea a little bit. And well, if Gerben allows, we could install it perhaps in Cape Town, or we just do it in the studio, in the Darwin Laboratory studio. In any case, though, it'd be really nice to see over a few weeks. And when the ship gets back to Falmouth, the idea was we could then bring it to Falmouth and then look at the chemistry that is the building blocks of life, which obviously with Darwin's origin of the species, which is a nice connection. So those are the 8 projects that we're going to be doing in different ways and different times around the voyage. And again, the whole point, especially the 4 on the ship, if anyone that's coming sailing on the ship, they're more than welcome to take part. We'd love them to. So the more that they would like to be involved, the better. So yeah, there'll be a lot to do if you want to. Again, it's optional. You don't have to, but if you want to. I should just mention, especially because we have Joe from Exploring by the CTR Pants in our audience, we've got a massive program of other projects that involve research as the ship goes around the world, not least 100 events every single week, beaming out live. These are going to start as we get to Tenerife. We're actually pre-recording the first one on the 11th of August, and it'll be ready to do the first one from the Canary Islands. But each of these will involve updates from the field, some of the Darwin leaders doing their projects, and different conservationists explaining their research as well. So it'll be a big part of the program. So my last slide, I guess, from all of these Q&A sessions, is see you in Rotterdam. I'm actually coming out tomorrow, so I'll be there on the 4th. So really look forward to meeting you in person, or see you in Plymouth for our send-off party in just over 10, 12 days time. So thank you so much for listening for an overview of the research projects that we're going to be doing.
Thank you, Stuart. Well, we got a first question from Jake for Stuart. How can those of us sailing get involved in projects 6 and 7?
Okay, so 6 and 7 were basically, let me just recap. Okay, if you're coming to Fernando, there is a possibility you could be involved in the coral transects. That's project 6. We're working with a team out there already. Obviously, you would need dive qualifications. We actually have all of the gear, all of the equipment we need out for it, for the photographic surveys of the corals. If you are interested and if you want to, send us an email info@Darwin200.com. We're putting together the team right now. We actually had a call with them yesterday. So yeah, if you're interested, if you're a diver and want to be part of those surveys, please send us an email and we can sort it out. We can work it out. Obviously, we can't have too many people, but 4 or 5 per survey we could do. But we could potentially do multiple surveys if needed. So yeah, if you're interested in that, do let us know. In terms of the pollution project, which is number 7, the truth is we're still working that one out. So the truth is I can't really give you a definitive answer on that one yet. What we're planning to do is while the ship is in Salvador, and we've had an immense amount of support from the local authorities and the wonderful people in the ports and the Admiralty, the Navy in Salvador, we're going to charter a smaller vessel to go around Bahia, the Bahia dos Santos, the bay, to do that project. So potentially, if you're interested in that, you could absolutely come. But the truth is, it's a work in progress. So just send us an email, and yeah, we can work that out later, closer to the time. Yeah. So hope that answered those questions.
Yeah. There was an additional question by John and other projects, but I guess the same question or the same answer would be send a quick email to info@Darwin200.com, right?
Yes, please, if you would be so kind. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Jim is asking, what is the pathway to apply to participate as a volunteer backup crew member? Gerben, did you hear the question or not? Wait, you're still on mute. I'm gonna.
Okay. You can always apply, Jim, but the truth is we have many applications and we already have selected a few. So as it looks now, we have made a complete schedule of crew members and voluntary crew members for the whole voyage. We don't have that many voluntary crew members this time because we think this project will be however nice, it will also be quite a challenging project for the ship and for the crew. So we have a lot of, let's say, paid crew, professional crew. So you can always drop us an email, but that would be a little bit of a, yeah, not so nice answer. I don't think there is room, as we look at it now, for volunteer, for any more crew members. You'll be on a long list of other ones that have asked for that.
Thank you. And there was a question that came in by email, and that was how long before the departure, embarkation date, you should arrive on the in port, and also how long after the disembarkation date would you recommend booking flights?
I can answer that if I may. Well, the trips between the legs are exactly what I just said. It's sailing trips between the different ports. So it would be silly to fly to Fernando, for example, and see nothing of Fernando, sail to Bahia, the Santos, and Salvador, and take a plane there back home. So I would recommend everybody to stay at least a few days in the port where you will be embarking the ship. Get familiar with where you are. Get a feeling of the area, and then embark on the ship. Sail to the other place, and also there stay a few days. Just get the feeling of that country or that place that you are gonna reach. It is nice. The ship will be around, but it is nice to have traveled by ship, because what I always think is the nice thing of traveling by ship is actually that it is a slow. I mean, if you take a plane, you go on the plane, you enter the plane in Amsterdam, in my case, or in Rotterdam, and it's at the moment it's raining, it's 17 degrees, it looks like autumn, it's summer, but it looks like autumn, and then you will be spit out the plane in some tropical destination, 30 degrees, humidity 99%. It is like, but if you sail there every day, it's half a degree more. Every day the weather changes, and by the time you're there you have naturally adapted to the new world where you are entering. So I think sailing is a real nice way to travel, but it is the sailing ship is a means to go from one place to the other, and you should never forget to look at that place. So I did that when I was young. It's a bit personal, but I was always working on the ship, always doing it, because there's always work on the ship. And then sometimes I went in Kyoto, I went in Tokyo, and I didn't even leave the ship for many days, just because there was so much work on the ship, because there always is. I didn't see the. So don't make the same mistake. Go with the ship, leave the ship, take a hostel, take a posada, take a hotel, take whatever you backpack, and see something of the country that we have reached. A few days will be enough in most occasions, but some people may want to travel more.
Thanks, Gerben. Then another question for you as a captain. On leg 15, will our route cross the equator so that we can earn our shellback or Neptune tattoo?
Tell me, what is 15? I have
Good
no
question.
idea.
I don't have. Oh, someone is typing. Oh, I will have a look. I don't have access to my normal system,
No.
apparently. But
Anyone knows by heart? Because I
yeah,
have no clue.
Ecuador to Galapagos.
Well, if we do, I'm not sure. I don't know that by heart. I've never been there, but it will be around the equator. But I suppose we will cross. And of course, every time we cross the equator, everyone on board will, well, you can't cross the equator without being granted by Neptune. So we will ask for permission, and we will see if you get it. That's how it works on the boat.
Okay, and what are the qualifications for climbing in the rigging? And will there be different certifications for high climbing?
No. There is no written qualifications, and there's no exam that you have to pass. We will actually encourage everybody to do as much as possible to enjoy life on the sailing boat, which may include climbing the rigging and going aloft. For going aloft, of course, you need to be a little bit secure about that. So people that are a bit afraid, that is very wise, because if you fall down, you drop dead. So it's better to be a bit afraid. So we will help you. So you get a harness, and you'll be taught how to wear a harness. You'll be taught how to do a buddy check, like divers. You see, okay, the harness is good. You know how it functions. Okay. And then the next thing is that we will point out the point of attachment. So where you put your hands, where you put your feet, and where do you clip on, where do you hook on the rigging to prevent from falling with these hooks on your harness. And the first time you climb up, one of the crew members, one of the experienced crew members will climb with you. So you'll be together. And he will or she will point out, okay, this is good, this is not good, look at this, try this, how do you feel here? So it will be a learning experience, and depending on your fitness and depending on your behavior, but also depending on your how you feel, we will go higher, or we say, okay, this is it for today, let's go back slowly, and maybe tomorrow we try again, or maybe you will wait a day and you do it another time. And only when the crew member is satisfied with your let's say behavior in the rigging, you may climb alone, let's say alone with other ones. You will never be allowed to climb without any permission from either the captain or the officer who's on watch. So there's always a question, can we go up? And then the officers say, okay, did you have your instruction? Yes. Do you feel comfortable? Yes. Okay, it's fine now. Or no, it's not fine, because in 10 minutes, I expect this to happen. So that's the way how it works.
Thank you, Gerben. And for those who have sail qualifications, such as a competent crew, as an example, do we need to bring any documentation for this?
No, you don't need to. I have seen very qualified people acting really weird, and I have seen unqualified people being perfect crew members. So we take you as you are, and we will judge you at that very moment, and not meaning to say you will be judged, but we will see if we think you are having the good safe manners to work on the boat. And then if you show that, we will teach you more, and we will ask you to help, and you will be invited to do anything that we as an experienced crew do as well. So it's more like, okay guys, we're doing this together. Who wants to do this? Have you done it before? No, I will explain it to you. Have you done it before? Okay, tell me how would you do it? Okay, on this boat we do it a little bit different. Try this. That's how it works.
Okay, well, thanks. Any more questions? Oh, I think John is asking a question, but he's on mute. Let me see. Oh, no question, sorry. I see there's one very important other question, and that is that we all see Peter cooking, and we are curious what he is making. I think he will be busy to...
I'm really sorry. I've just had a long day and I'm starving.
What is it? What is it?
It's just a little stir fry.
Perfect. Well, bon appetit, I would say. It looks very good. Oh, how do we get further updates regarding meeting the boat, etc.?
Well, I can answer that too. We will send you a last joining instruction we always say a few weeks before departure, but the truth is we sometimes don't know exactly where the ship will be berthed. It's up to the harbor authorities, and sometimes we have to wait until we have the answers. But let's say something between 2 weeks and 1 week prior to embarkation, we will send you an email with all the information we have. And that includes how you could reach the ship or the shipping company in case of, let's say, your flight is delayed or your bags are not arrived, but also where the ship will be berthed or where we think the ship will be berthed. And if we don't know, we will sometimes put a crew member on a designated place to pick you up and bring you to the ship wherever that will be at that very moment. So that all that information will be shortly before embarking the ship. It will be sent by email, but we will also be giving that information in the how do you call this thing?
Final joining instruction.
No, on the website. How do you call this?
Follow the ship.
No.
Oh.
No. What was it called?
General information.
Community. No, in the community. Sorry.
Yes.
So all the emails that we send out to you will also be updated in this community. So if you think you missed it, just go in your community for your trip and look it up there. So it will be there. If it's in there, drop us an email and we'll send it again. Or we tell you, sorry, we don't have the information yet, but we expect it to come within a few days or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Sheila is asking, I think it's for Stewart. I probably missed it as I had to join late, but where do we get details of the Plymouth launch party?
Oh, okay. So we sent those out a few weeks ago. I think, Elvira, you kindly put them on the community pages. Sheila, if you send me an email, I'll forward you the PDF all about it. Yeah, so if you email info@darwin200.com. I checked a few days ago. We're I think about 220, 230 people, and the venue has an upper ceiling of 300. So we ask you if you would be so kind as to just register. Then it definitely gets you a place, because the venue can only legally let in about 300. So in the document that I'll send you, again, it's also on the community pages. There's a little link to a booking form, and you can then sign up there and be part of our event. It's totally free, costs nothing. We've even got a gin sponsor. We've got drinks and beverages for when you arrive, but even a local gin sponsor is very kindly participating. So it'll be a really lovely event, and we'll give some nice talks and nice send off. And then that's the start of our amazing adventure.
Perfect, sounds good. Then another question for Gerben, I think. How and when are bunks allocated on board?
They are already allocated by booking, because we keep, of course, a list of people that book, and by order of booking, we fill up the bunks. So sometimes at the end of, if the ship is almost full, we only have one bunk left here, or a second bunk left there, or just one cabin left for a couple, and stuff like that. So these are already allocated, and when you come on board, there is a list, and the crew will tell you where you will be sleeping.
Okay. And if there's a question about Tenerife, if we are sailing out on Monday evening or on Tuesday. So probably that question is, will we leave the same evening or the next morning?
No, the general habit is, if you arrive, let's say, one day at the end of the afternoon, that's typically the day, the moment that we expect you on board, because that allows you to travel to the ship at daytime. At the last bit, perhaps, maybe you are already in the neighborhood, but anyway, you can travel to the ship. You arrive on board. You'll be welcomed with a little drink, some food, whatever, some soup, and then we have a conversation about. We meet each other, meet and greet. The captain will tell you a little bit about the habits on board, life rules, safety, all these things. and we don't leave that same night. It's a lot of information, it's a lot of new impressions, and it is really good after that information being given to you to mingle on the deck, to have a drink, to make, let's say, make yourself comfortable in your cabin, and then in most occasions the captain will decide to leave the next morning. Of course, departure of a ship is also subject to all kind of administrative rules. We have to get clearance. Everybody should go through immigration. It's all things that the captain has to do. Sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it's quick. Then we have the tide. We may have to wait for a convenient tide. If there is, let's say, a bar in front of the river, something you need to have high water or at least upcoming water, but also the weather. So the system is you arrive one day, you have a information, you have a quiet night, and the next day we leave. But that next day is always weather permitting, bureaucracy permitting, and all these things.
And do the guests need to clear customs and immigration before boarding?
No, that's not possible. You can only clear when you leave the country. So if you're in the country, of course, you arrive by plane or by whatever. You enter a country, you will be, let's say, stamped in. Depending where you come from, you need a visa, all these things you have to arrange for yourself. But then you will board a ship, that's fine, because the ship is being cleared in that country as well. So you board a ship, you're in the country, the ship is in the country, you board a ship. But then the ship, together with you, will want to leave that country. And then it's up to the captain. He's responsible to get clearance for the ship, including all the people on board, to go. So it's you get your clearance, but it's arranged for by the captain and perhaps an agent or whatever. But I mean, that's via the ship.
Okay. I see there's some discussions about people from the US or Canadians that might need, or they will need to have a visa in arriving on Fernando. I know there's information available, and I will ask Anna to maybe, if it's not already in a community, put that in a community to so everyone can look it up. And if we send out a suggested packing list, and yes, but you probably have a lot of information already. With the confirmation email, there's a general information booklet attached, and there's a lot of information about the ship, life on board, but also what to bring and what not to bring. And with the final joining instructions, we'll have an extra list again. So please check this or bring this. This is easy. But if you have any doubts or questions, you can always send a quick email to Anna, and she will be answering your email. Okay.
Well, I can
Yeah.
emphasize. I mean, this booklet. Of course, when you're booking, you don't think of it. It's a long time to go, but go through your email, find that booklet, because it's really handy to read it through. We wrote it. Because we have so many questions, and also because many people come on board and say, "Oh, if I should have known this." I said, "Yeah, but you could have known if you just read the booklet." So please do.
Perfect. Okay, well, if we don't have any more questions, then I will, if no one has anything to add, then I will say goodbye to you all. For the ones coming to Rotterdam, I'll see you on the 4th of August, because I will be there, of course. And I will also be there in Plymouth with Gerben. And, well, it was great for you all showing up for all the meetings. And I wish you a very great trip on board.
Oh.
Well, for me, I just want to say it's been a long time that we have been doing these Q&A sessions, and But it's finally going to happen. It's a really special moment. So if you have time, please come to Rotterdam or please come to Plymouth. And if not, please come on board, and we'll be happy to see you and make you part of the big how you say, adventure.
Absolutely. And if I may just also echo those thoughts as well, this whole project is only possible because of you, because of all of you people coming on the ship and sailing it around the world. So the entire effort, and you're going to hear a lot about it as we start going around the world with these amazing 200 young people, these Darwin leaders in the ports, all of this is entirely possible only because of you collectively choosing to sail aboard this wonderful historic ship. So an enormous thank you to each and every one of you for making this happen and making this possible.
Okay.
See you in
guys.
Rotterdam.
Thank you. See you soon.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a lovely day. Take care.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.